Hello, everyone. Welcome to Product Planning Milestone Kickoff for 17.5. It's 6th of September. I'll start the screen share and we'll go together through the board and go through each of the items which we are planning for 17. All right. So getting started with the feature type issues. So the first one we have is backend issue, which is for allowing users to assign themselves or a teammate to an epic from an epic board. So this issue is essentially expanding on the assignees feature that we are introducing as a part of Epic Work Items, where user can view an item from within the board and then can change assignees. So the experience is much like what we have in issue boards today, where, for example, you click a card from an issue board and you see assignees present here. But the same feature is not available in the board, where if you go to, say, Epic Board, and click on an item from the card here. Yeah, if I click here, assignees is not present here, so we need to expose this information. So I believe that once we have the drawer live, chances are that we may not have to do anything additional for the sidebar, right, Jack? Okay, so until that is implemented, we would need to expose the assignees dropdown here, which means that we need a way for legacy Epic API to accept assignees. Is that what we are proposing here? Because it's a backend issue, and I don't see any other way to do it unless these cards are essentially work item cards, and then the widgets that we show in the sidebar are also work item widgets. Because that is my doubt with this particular backend issue, that it seems like there's a UI addition because assignees is already available in other parts of the Epic work item page. But for boards, it might be non-trivial. So any thoughts on this from the backend engineering?
Yeah, I just want to add one quick thing, Kushal, too. This
Yeah.
says that it's so that you could add a team member, but I was wondering if that backend could make it available to also filter and to list and to show the icon and to add the assignee. I don't know if that's too big for one single backend, but if so, I can update the issue description. That's why I haven't updated it yet.
So can you repeat, like, what are the other parts that you are saying that can be combined
Yeah,
with this one?
the other parts that will be coming from a front end perspective, this one reads like click a card, or you already have a card to click. See on the right
Yes.
sidebar, this
Yes.
one reads that you would just add assignee, right?
Yes. Yes.
But the work that will be coming next will be add the icon to the card, the picture of the assignee,
Okay.
add the ability to filter by assignee, add the
Okay.
ability to add a list by assignee. So I don't know if like from a backend perspective, we could do all of that in one go, like a single API to enable all those things. And if so, I can update the backend issue, or if those need to be separate.
So, like, the moment we discuss about filtering support by assignees on boards, that is not something that is doable today because boards is rendered by legacy boards API that is all based on legacy epics and not epic work items. Anything that has to do with filtering with assignees is simply not possible on boards today. You would
Until
have
we
to,
change
exactly.
to work. And also list, then creating a list would be the same because that's kind of filtering, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
exactly.
But we could show the icon and we could do the change the assignee.
Changing of assignees is something that I doubt is possible because this entire
Ah,
board
okay.
app is driven by legacy API. That is
Okay,
the
that's
reason
what
why
you're asking.
the sidebar that we see here is a legacy epic essentially, which is why we are seeing this ancestor. So it would be weird to not see parent drop down here like we do in case of epic work items, but not show it here. And then also for assignees, I don't think it would be possible with legacy epics because it would mean that we would be adding feature for assigning epics to users from the legacy epic sidebar, and that is not possible today. However, if we work on the drawer instead, and if the drawer opens up from here, then it will simplify a lot of things for us where we don't have to re-implement the same feature again. Like one can click on a card for an epic, and instead of this legacy sidebar, it opens a drawer, and then the drawer allows you to change assignees and manipulate metadata. So in that case, we may not even need to do anything on the back end for this.
Correct. That was my question. Like, can't we just use the front end with work items for epics.
Yeah.
And give you any API you need. For example, we could give you the work item ID on the Epic API, the rest like legacy API.
Yeah. So even if we get the drawer working on board and enable it on the production groups, I still doubt that filtering would be possible unless Jack has an insight on it, because filtering would still require to update board to use work items API, right? So in that case, we are still at least a few milestones out, because we have an issue around creating a replacement for legacy Epix queries to update our boards with work items, where front end would just change the name of the query, and we are going to be using something called presenters on the back end, which will actually fetch the data from work items table and then show it here. So this issue in that case is blocked by the drawer work for now, and then filtering and everything can come later after we replace boards app to use work item based query.
Well, this particular issue was just to add assignees to the sidebar. And what I'm hearing is we don't need a backend for that if we instead implement the drawer.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
and that's okay. In terms of filtering and listing creating a list, I hadn't planned on that for like 3 milestones.
Okay.
So I wasn't trying to achieve that in this milestone.
Okay.
I was just trying to serve up the back end for whatever we could.
Okay.
So it sounds like we could remove the back end issue. I could repurpose it for those other things,
Yep.
for the filtering. And then I will look for where we are in the drawer. We can't do the drawer until all the UX stuff is done anyway. So we should put our efforts in the UX, which is already in this milestone, and then that will be the plan. So I'll update the issues to indicate the new plan. Thank you for talking through that.
Yep, thanks. And the second item is around updating listing pages to include block and blocking relationships. So this is already in progress. Anastasia worked on a couple of related issues already. This is around exposing the blocked and blocking information on the epics list, much like we do in other places like issue boards. So the new design is something like this, where we are going to be showing the count of items which are either blocked by this particular work item or is blocking this work item. So it's fairly straightforward and is already assigned. The third item is creating new work item from an existing work item. So this is something that we are already doing for issues, except that we want to replicate this behavior for work items. And there is a backend that was already addressed within 17.4. So the idea is that when user opens an epic, they should be able to see a new related epic action available within the work items view. And similarly, if they are creating an epic, and the moment that particular epic shows up, like for example, let me just try and open this particular epic work item. So for example, there is no way to create a related epic from here. But once there is an action available and user clicks on it, a similar model would show up like we do here, except that there would be an additional item within this model, which will show that this new epic that you're about to create is related to the epic that is currently open behind the model. And I think Jack can pick up this one because it is related to a model modification, and the backend is already available as a part of this issue that Eugenia worked on. So Jack, I'm going to assign this issue to you.
Yep, sounds good.
Thanks. Right, moving on, and let me clear it up. Okay. And the next one is again exposing the ability to block user from creating child epics when they are already at the maximum permissible depth. So right now, there is no way that user would know if they are already at the maximum depth unless they actually try to create an epic from this dropdown. So for example, if we are viewing an epic, let's go back and open one of the epics here. And if I view this epic, so for instance, if this epic was already at the maximum depth, if I click on this add dropdown, it would still show me these two actions, a new epic and existing epic. And if I click on this form, it would open the form and allow user to provide a title. And when you create that, it will fail at that point and you will see an error that user is already at the maximum depth. So what we want to do is we want to prevent these two actions from even showing up here. Like we would still show up, except that those will be disabled and will be showing an information that you are already at a maximum depth. So there was a backend change that was already done to expose the max depth information as a part of 17.4 that Abhilash did as a part of this MR. So now we need to start consuming that information on front end. And the way it will work is, as suggested in this design, users will see these two actions disabled in case they are already at the max depth, and this icon is showing the popover with the information. So again, a fairly straightforward item already assigned. Right. So the next item is around archiving design. So this is related to design management. Now, since project management is starting its work on migrating issues to work items, we are prioritizing design management support for project level work items, because supporting design management at a group level work items is not trivial. It will require certain sharding updates that we are still waiting on with database team. So instead, we are going to be prioritizing just the project level work items, which means that there are two things that we need to do as of now. Allow user to add ability to essentially update the designs by changing a permission around update, and then exposing a to-do option for each design comment that gets created. So this issue is part of that broader initiative where once user is able to update a design, older design can be archived if they want to archive it, and it goes to a previous version. So this issue is something that is around design management. And since it's a front end issue, I think the back end for this issue is already done. So given that it's design management, I'll go ahead and assign it to Flory because she's already working on design management. So, yeah. Right. And the next item is also around ability to upload a design on a project level work item. So Flora is already working on this. She did a spike, and she is now working on a proper MR for this one, already assigned and is scheduled for 17.5. So that is about the design management upload part. And the next one is around design permission. So this is something that I mentioned already, that we need to add support for updating a design at a project level work item. And Abhilash is already working on this particular item. So I'll go ahead and assign it to Abhilash. All right.
I wonder, Kushal,
Yeah.
should we see if there's like questions on any of these, or
So I had a conversation around design management in general for project level work items with
Mhm.
Abhilash already. And he said that if we are not prioritizing group level work items, then there isn't anything that is blocking. There are only two things that we need to worry about. That is update design permission and adding a to-do support for design widget. And both
Okay,
of those things are not blocked by anything on backend. And once
so
those are
this
available, front end can also pick up.
okay, because this one still shows that it's blocked by sharding and it has a workflow blocked. So can we update that
Yes, yes.
and
So
create an issue for the thing that we're pushing out,
yeah,
the group?
so sharding is blocking this issue only if we are talking about group level work items. So
Yeah,
I'll
so
create a separate project
separate
level
button.
issue,
Okay,
and then it can be unblocked. So, yeah,
great, thank you.
thanks. All right. So that was about the permission. And then there is this to do button. So to do button is the front end support once backend is available. Backend is already assigned to Abhilash for 17.4, which means that front end can pick it up in 17.5. So Rajan, I'm
Uh,
going to, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Nick mentioned to me, but I didn't dive into the details, that there is a change in behavior on the to do button. It's like it's not going to have its own to do button on designs, but it has some target to the design. I didn't really understand, but just to make sure that whoever picks it up understands.
Yep. So given that Rajan already worked on work item to do button originally, he'll have context in case we are going to merge the to do option at the top level. Because one of the ideas was in case a to do is created via a work item design, then the original to do button that we have in the base page should reflect it, that there is a to do to be done, or adding a to do from that particular action. So since this is related to do, Rajan, I'm going to assign it to you. So, yeah, oops. Yeah. All right. Any questions so far? Sorry if I'm moving a bit quickly because we have a bunch of issues and I'm aiming to get the kick completed on time. So. Right. And this again a design management related issue around creating design management work item widgets. So this is more of a meta issue which had other related issues. It is already assigned to Abhilash, so I'll work with him and clean this up, and probably will create a project specific issues that we can track and move anything around group specific out of the milestone. Yeah. All right. Then we have a quick action related items for work items where we want to expose blocks and block by quick actions for linked work items. So since linked work items already support these relationships, there is only one quick action available as of today as far as work items are concerned. So if we go to any existing epic, like for example, this one, and if I try relate, okay, looks like even relate action is not available. Amanda, do you remember if we had relate action to begin with?
It's not linked, is it?
Let me check. Yeah, there is no link or relate
No.
either.
All right, I'll look. I
Yeah.
don't think we did have it on Epics.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna check the legacy view.
yeah, so I think yeah, let me try the legacy view.
No, I just tried it. It's not there.
Oh, so I think we would need to expose all the three actions, right?
Yeah,
Like,
there must be a separate issue for that one, but if it makes sense to do it all at once, that'd be great. Yeah, this is issues, so there was never parity. This is
okay,
a GA issues,
okay,
so we never had it on. I'll see if we have a relate already
okay.
issue.
Okay. So Casio or Nicholas, whom from you two would like to pick this one up? Like linked items already has it. We just need to expose the information and show it on the UI.
I was waiting to discuss this later, but I failed to add issues on the board in there. Sorry. Actually, I think the dates, I still have some work to be done on 17.5, and I failed to update the board. Again, sorry about that. So if you can do it, Nicholas, would be better. But otherwise, I can squish it together with the dates work that I'm doing.
Okay.
Oh, that's fine.
So Casio, you have like these three issues, right? And which of these three one is likely to slip?
So the inherited dates bug that we found, the fix for just that bug is small, but
Okay.
we still have some side effects. I just added a note in there as well. We still have some side effects of the legacy behavior leaking to the new behavior, and all the dates widget thing, it's very confusing right now, and I think we might end up having more bugs if we don't fix those things right now. So as we discussed before, I think we should move the rules that we created to the back end instead of the front end. I would like to do that on 17.5. And also join the two widgets to be just one widget. I think that would simplify a lot and reduce a lot of the bugs that we are having with dates. So if I could focus on those two tasks, I think would be better.
Okay.
But
This one is
again,
already scheduled for 17/7. So do you want to move it ahead?
yeah, if that's okay. Again, I failed to do that before the planning. Sorry.
Yep, no worries. So Manda, if you like want to move this issue to 17/5, feel free to change the milestone so we can bring it up.
Okay, and I just linked in the chat, the relate issue is 17.6.
Okay.
Let me know if, I don't know if it makes sense to do block by blocking and relate all at once. If so, we can combine those.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that was about quick action. And then this is the drawer related. So updating UX of contextual view for drawer and open drawer updates. So I see that there are already bunch of checklist items created. So Jack, can you provide in terms of like total effort, because this one has weight missing. So like just an approximate effort that we are looking at, given that it already has about 5 subtasks.
So I feel like quite a lot of the stuff on here is kind of like don't break it tasks. So
Okay.
some of them are kind of zero weight individually. I would imagine that this is probably no more than a 2, I would say, for this particular part.
Okay. Okay.
Possibly less, but I don't want to underestimate.
Okay, yeah. So I'll set the weight to 2 and will assign it to you, and feel free to change its weight if you realize that it is more effort than mentioned here.
Will you update the workflow label since you're there? Oh, never mind. It's okay.
Yep.
I'll do it.
I think we can also change it to ready for development, right?
Yeah, because we have weight and assigning.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right. Okay, so that was for the contextual view, and there is another one around drawer sizing as well. So I think again this is related to the one, except that it deals with responsive changes. I believe
This
that
one, I was
yeah,
going to say, this one, I will need to double check that all of the requirements are exactly the same as, because it looks very, very similar to something that I only did like a couple of weeks ago or last
okay,
week. So I'll double check and go through all of the requirements to make sure that it's not just a duplicate. But it might be the case that we can mark this as done because I feel like I've already
okay,
done this. If so, then I'll give you guys a shout, but I don't want to just say that it's done without checking.
okay, sure. So meanwhile, I'll just assign it to you. I won't assign any
Yeah,
weight or change the workflow label. In case it is done, then you can just close that issue and perhaps also work
cool.
with Natalia, because I believe that since this is related to the base drawer component itself, chances are that whatever responsive layout changes we are going to do is going to impact everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have the third drawer item, which is again, I think, on a similar theme where we may have already completed the work and just requires verification, which is around board specific changes. Okay, so this is the one where we need to make changes to accommodate board, like ability to update title and opening a drawer from board, reduce the size of board container so that users can still scroll through the list. So again, we are already having board drawer enabled on certain boards. So I think we can also verify this if it requires any additional work. So again, we'll be assigning it to you, Jack.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. Right. And the remaining one, oh, there are plenty of board ones. Interesting. Okay. So there is this accessibility one as well. So this is something that I think Rajan can perhaps also take a look at it, because it requires like testing the boards from our accessibility testing suite that we have in place. And since Rajan is already part of that working group, Rajan, I'm going to assign this one to you. Be sure to update the weight and the workflow label once you verify if there is everything that we need to address the accessibility part. Otherwise, we can just close it in case it is already taken care of. And the last one is introduce contextual view to work items listing page at namespace level. So I believe that we already have this enabled on certain test groups. So we just need to ensure that once it is out of the feature flag and is enabled for everyone, we just close this issue, right?
Yeah. I think it should be already working. It's just a case of verifying. The main difference is that it's effectively the same page as the epics list, but it can display basically any work item type. So there might be some little things that might need to be tweaked just to get it to work properly by switching between all sorts of different work item types at the same time, but it should be minor if there is anything.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so again, send this one your way. All right, so that is about all the feature issues. Now coming on to bugs. So bugs is like some of the bugs we have are around GA or post first. So let's go through the first one. So use full namespace path when opening work items in models. So I think this is around how when a model is opened from, I think, preview is when, yeah. Nicholas, can you provide more information on this issue? Like reading through the description, it feels like we ran into this almost a year ago.
Yes, so that's why I have no idea anymore.
Okay.
So there's definitely a problem when you open an issue from another namespace. I think that's where the problem comes from, right?
Okay.
So you can open an issue from another namespace, like you're in GitLab org, but you have an issue link to GitLab.com.
Okay.
And then you open that in a modal. You're doing a wrong check on the feature checks, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, yes,
sorry,
go ahead.
question. Do you think this could have been changed or
fixed.
affected? Yeah, by all of the changes we've made recently to paths and stuff.
Could be. I just opened this while development of like 9 months ago or something.
Kushal, I'm going to pull this out of the Milestone, see if I can verify it.
Okay.
So I'm not wasting anybody's time.
Okay, sure.
Sorry. I thought for some reason I thought it was related to GA work, and it isn't.
Alexandra just made a comment. Yeah, that makes sense. So we only provide the IID, and since we try to find a work item of the IID within the namespace that we are currently in, we are not finding the correct one because the other namespace has other IIDs, right? Or like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, Amanda, can you verify and then let me know? And then I can probably find a signee for this one.
Yep.
Thanks. Right. And the second bug is duplicate display of epic and roadmap view in top level parent hierarchy. Yeah. So I think we already had it fixed, or I think it was a customer issue that Flory spent some time investigating, but I'm not sure whether Flory was able
I don't
to
think
pinpoint.
she fixed it. I think she was able to replicate it. And this
Oh,
was
okay.
our favorite large financial customer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll discuss it with Flory and see if she got all the information needed to fix it. I think the steps to reproduce are already present here. But yeah, I'll work with her and see if it requires prioritization. So, okay. And toggle notifications is behaving differently depending on epic URL. Okay, so when the epic URL contains epics, notification toggle is available as an icon. When URL
This is
working.
showing
Okay.
the icon for notifications rather than putting it in the actions menu.
Okay.
And we do have approval from UX Papercuts to do so.
Okay. So Rajan, since it is related to notifications and you worked on work item notifications previously, I'll send it to your way.
Based on some feature flag, I guess someone from UX Papercuts confirmed that this is based on feature flag. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
it's already
I will just
available.
investigate. Thanks. I will just investigate first.
Okay, thanks. Right, and the other one is subgroup members cannot insert images into root group epics. Invalid JSON response from server. So this is something that I struggled to reproduce. I remember, okay, I see that this was happening with work items where invalid JSON response from server. So I think this may require investigating on the work item side, because I do remember to run into it. That's why I left the comment. So steps to create a private group, private subgroup, project invite subgroup without any role. Attempt to attach an image. Okay. So I think this has more to do with the permission around how this happens. I'll reach out to Eugenia on this one and discuss if she can pick it up, because she would be aware about the permissions around why it is happening. And the last one is work item hierarchy, prevent dropping in child when type is not allowed. So this is something that we got in the feedback, as well as a number of team members ran into this. This is a bit interesting one. It is around view draggable. The thing is that within the hierarchy widget that we have today, in the legacy version, we didn't show a task list within the child items. But since we are now showing task lists, even issues can be parent, because you can move around tasks into the hierarchy view and drop inside any of the parents. And as a side effect of that particular change, if you drag an item, notice how this issue got indented. It is giving an impression that this issue can be made a child of the issue above it, which is incorrect. If you are just reordering an issue, it should not cause this indentation to happen. especially when you are around an issue. So this is something that I believe Flory already spent some time, but couldn't find a way to prevent it because tasks are also a thing. So I'm going to be spending some time investigating it because I worked on View Draggable's move event listener, and I think it might be possible to solve it, although it would be a workaround because the other way to fix it would be hiding tasks. And I'm not in favor of doing it because it's part of the new offering that we have. So I would rather leave tasks as it is in the child items and fix the drag and drop behavior itself. So I'll just assign it to myself. Okay, I think it is already assigned to Flory. So chances are she may be already working on it. So that leaves us with the maintenance type work now. And this is a spike issue around replacing Epic's endpoints with the GraphQL. So I believe Nicholas, Eugenia was working on this spike already. I see that she left a comment, and she is also on PTO. So we would need to find a front-end DRI for this. So on front-end, this won't be something that only one person can work on. But as far as investigation is concerned, I can have Flory work with the backend engineer on this one. But from the backend engineering, who would be available to do this spike, like for the replacement API?
I will be available for anything that is related to getting rid of legacy Epic endpoints.
Okay, good. Thanks. So I'll assign it to you, and I'll also assign Flory to discuss it. I'll have to leave a comment so that Flory is able to like pick this up and work with you on this one. Yeah. Okay. And the second item is around filtering out unsupported parents. So this is already assigned to Anastasia, and I think everything that was required from the backend is already assigned except for this one. So this one is fairly straightforward. I think I already asked Donald, and we decided that we just need to remove ticket type. So I'm assigning it to Abhilash again. All right. And that means that all of the items again, but this is scheduled for 17.4, and I'll reach out to Abhilash and see if this is something that we can squeeze into 17.4. Otherwise, we'll have to work around for the front end. And remove alpha status for work item and item fields. So again, this is related to work items API change. So Nicholas, you want to take up this one?
Of course. But I'm actually not sure if we should do this.
Yeah, I agree with Nicholas. Maybe we should push these few milestones forward, to be honest.
It's a debate. Like if we, Amanda, what's the idea? Like if we actually it's a broader question. Like if we deprecate now all REST endpoints for legacy epics, our customers likely want a REST endpoint for work items, not a GraphQL endpoint, right? So they probably don't care if it's alpha or not anyway. And the deprecation is only for information anyway, because we will maintain it for a long time.
Is there any like degradation? Like, why was it alpha? Is there any loss of functionality for them?
No, just for us, we can always change the API.
Oh, okay. Then no, I think it would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move that out for the next 1 to 3 milestones.
Yeah. I'll do it right away. So next 1 to 3 or 4 to 6?
1 to 3, and then we move it to 4 to 6 in 3 months.
All right. Yeah. So, okay, and then make legacy Epic GraphQL endpoints deprecated. So I think this is something that we already discussed, that we need to do it in 17.5 to be able to have the replacement ready in time for 18.0. So I'll assign it to Eugenia, but again, like Eugenia won't be available to mark these items as deprecated. So Kasir, you want to take over this one? Thanks.
I think this is where it's becoming interesting. Like, I think it's also fine to say we will deprecate this, and in 6 months it's gone, but then we still have like 6 months time to get work item out of alpha. So that should be fine.
Okay, nice. All right, and the last item is around return capitalized enums for get allowed work item type. So again, this is fairly straightforward and is already assigned to Abhilash. Right, and for UX paper cuts, so I reached out to Chad and asked him in case he is interested in joining the call. He said that the issues that he's assigned to has all the details required to work on these ones. So I think we are good for the paper cuts. And then we have UX design that either of the next will be working on, and then the product work. So I think that is all about the new items for 17.5. In terms of slippage, so in case you haven't noticed, making use of GLQL here, I created this team workload page. So all the items that are present here will have the health status and at risk updated depending on the milestone that we are in. So for current milestone, there are a bunch of items which are at risk. And also the issue board by team member has the information. In case you have an issue assigned for 17.4, we still have a few days before the release is cut, like we have till 12th of September. So in case you feel that any of your issue is going to miss the milestone, just be sure to update the health status. And yeah, that is about it. Any questions or concerns? Yeah.
Sorry, going
Yep,
back
yep.
to the 17.5 milestone, did we go through those few that are in open?
Yes.
What are those?
Okay, so this one is redirection from Epic's URL to work items URL. Okay, so let's start from the first one.
Yeah, it looks like they need type labels. Maybe you could just drag them into the right place.
Yeah, so
After you've
investigate
discussed it.
into incorrect image when different image. So I think this is a bug actually.
Okay.
And board Simlen loading Epic fail. So this is something
That
that
looks like a
I
bug
haven't,
too.
I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I think, okay, yeah. So I did follow up with the person who reported that issue a couple of times, and okay, yeah, the warning that they are saying, I don't think this warning is making any sense. So we'll have to investigate it further and see if it is indeed affecting us. But I'll still move it to bug. And
Is it failing or is it a timeout?
it is failing, but it's weird. If you look at the most recent comment, they say that instead of new epics getting added, epics are getting removed as they scroll. At least I remember seeing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, here it is. So it says that pressing load more epic loads the next chunk of epics from API and then removes all epics from the board before rendering newly requested ones. So there is something weird happening here, except that I was unable to reproduce it the last time I checked, which was last month. So I'll have to work with this team, this person who reported this and see if it is possible. The thing is that most of these are on their self-managed version. They are not on GitLab.com. So it would be really hard to pinpoint what is exactly the root cause. But in any case, this is actually a bug. So we would have to mark it as one. So we'll just move it to a bug. And then redirect users to Epic's URL when Epic is accessed to a work item URL. I remember bringing it up in one of the engineering things, but I don't remember what was the conclusion. So since Casio, Nicholas, both of you are here, can you provide some insight on would it make sense to do something like this, especially, or how trivial or difficult would it be if we want to do the redirect, given that we already have some view replacements done?
We, by the way, decided against the redirect and did but yeah, it's easy to do, I think, but
so Amanda, given that the research
or UX decision.
Yeah, research we did around the naming convention and probably the results of it. What do you feel? Should we do this redirect? I mean, it is inconsistent for sure that in some places users are seeing work items URL.
Where do you see that? Because we actually replaced all of the work item URLs with epic URLs if it's a work item type epic.
Yeah, but in case someone ended up with a work item URL, they can still move around using that URL. And essentially, if an epic is accessible via work items URL, then that shouldn't be possible. That's what was pointed out in the feedback issue that we have open, that users say that in some of the epics, they have links to opens in /epics URL, but some of their epics maybe someone left a comment because they ended up with that work items URL. Now it is accessible via that URL.
And the other thing that's important is Melissa's comment there that Duo Chat doesn't recognize work items URLs. And so for that reason, in my opinion, we should do it because we want to ensure that Duo Chat is as optimized as possible. Because as a company, we're pushing that. But she does link that something else should be able to fix it. So.
But I do remember adding a proposal for GitLab Duo team to have the URL supported for work items as well. I haven't followed the conversation after on whether they will be able to support that change. So I'm not sure.
They have this scheduled in 17.5, but it's a 5. And it's project management when they know they're overloaded.
Yeah.
How big of a change is this? Like, what's the level of effort for us?
Not much, not a 5, but shouldn't be a 5 for them either. But it's not much work.
Like a 3 or like a 2?
Maybe a 1.
Oh, okay. If it's a 1, can we do it, please?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we can definitely do it. But do we have a plan in the future to consolidate everything to work items URLs?
Nothing's been announced. UX is still wrapping up their findings. I would like to operate as if we don't have it because we never know what could happen.
Okay.
All right. So I'll move it to the feature list, given that it's a feature change. And yeah, I think that is about it. Anything else that we missed or should we discuss? I mean, we are not on time, so.
Question. I have just started one of the issues. It was being set to 17.4. I mean, we were discussing to last milestone, but I guess it was not picked up or we have not yet evaluated everything. So I was just evaluating things up and I think it cannot be set to 17.4 definitely. So do we want it to schedule it in 17.5 or we need to move it forward?
I think we discussed it, Amanda and Nicholas, right? That we don't want to change the type while we still have workstream 5 items open, because changing the type as of now requires a lot of data manipulation, given that we have to support legacy epics.
That's a different issue.
Yeah, that's different. This one is taking what we already have available, which is for tasks, issues, objectives, and key results, and making available in the UI. So this can move forward. The back-end quick action for epics cannot.
Okay. And yeah, it is not assigned to anyone. So I'll go ahead and move it to 17.5. And so Rajan, you want to take it over?
Yeah.
Not to be a stickler, but please don't move it because this was a deliverable and it should hit the missed deliverables.
Okay, perfect. Sure.
I will just add.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I will just add all the details I have found till now.
Okay.
So we are at least in all the details.
Yep.
I want to bring up, and I'm going to put it in the retro as well, but I want to thank Nicholas and Kushal for bringing up the alternate suggestion on that type work for epics. There's definitely going to be times that I don't know that a different route is available to solve something. And even though it might cost us a couple of milestones, it makes sense from a technical perspective. Like in that case, we wouldn't want to do that extra effort because it'll be much easier once we finish workstream 5. So please don't ever be afraid. Like if I've scheduled something for a milestone, don't ever be afraid to say, look, if we wait a milestone or two, it would be easier or less technical debt but more scalable or whatever. Don't feel afraid, even if deliverables on it. Don't be afraid to push back and say, here's an alternate suggestion with timing and here's why.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Amanda, for accommodating.
And by the way, we don't need to close everything from workstream 5. Just delegating the reading should be enough. Yeah. So.
Okay.
And so that was about the board walkthrough for the kickoff. And Casio, you want to expand on your point about open discussion?
Yeah, I just want to start this discussion, but we can move it async later. But on one of the that bug that Kushal reported about the dates being shown a little bit weird on the new experience, there is actually a few bugs in there. I just post a comment on the issue as well. One of the problems is that we have the two widgets thing, and although both widgets should be fetching data from the same place, they aren't, and I'm trying to fix that. But also the way that we are rolling updates on the legacy permits that we have those dates, like the start date being after the due date. So since this is possible on the legacy, we also should include a new rule on that rules table to what to do when this happened on the legacy, because it's not only about if it is fixed or not, but when the dates end up being inverted. I have to describe a little bit better the cases. I don't know from the top of my mind. And I think actually even on the new experience, because of the rolling up, we might end up having that. So anyways, my point is just that we have to define a rule on what to do if the start date takes precedence or the due date takes precedence, or how we're gonna work on those. Again, I'll add a comment on the epic itself where the rules are defined, explaining the cases where this can happen, and we can discuss this there. Just wanted to highlight it here.
Cassio, I can take the action item to define the rules, but would it be possible to get data on how frequently that happens? Thank you.
Yes. But regardless of the frequency, I think it's important to avoid that to happen anyways, because as Kushal mentioned, on the boards, this can be funky or something like that. But yeah, I'll try to get the data for you as well.
Yeah, I think we prevent it. Like if you're picking a fixed state, we don't allow you to do that. So it wasn't intended, and it should certainly break roadmaps as well. So we definitely need to make sure that can't be possible in the future.
Yeah.
So those items do not show up on roadmap. So it isn't like roadmap is breaking, but it's definitely a side effect of user behavior, essentially, where they are working around our restrictions by inheriting dates which are invalid.
Yeah, and if we decide to use the roll updates on issue types as well, rolling up the dates from the tasks, this can end up happening on bugging on the board, on the there.
Yep. All right. Anything else you want to discuss? Okay, thanks a lot, and have a good rest of your weekend. Bye.
Thank you. See you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.